Yeah.
All right. Welcome to the Midwest Game Nerds podcast. I'm your host, John, and here with me today are Brian
Hey.
and Alex.
Hello.
Today we have some AAA announcements to talk about and a semi-full review of Detroit Become Human, the game aptly named after our beloved Motor City. But before we get to all of that, if you want to follow us on social media or see all the places you can listen to or watch the show, check out MidwestGameNerds.com/links. And in case you haven't heard, the Midwest Podcast Network now has a Patreon. The Patreon is meant to benefit all the shows on the network, so if you are inclined to do so, you can subscribe for as little as $1 a month and help us keep all our shows alive and well. As always, we do appreciate your feedback, which you can send to MidwestGameNerds@gmail.com, and don't forget to follow us on Twitch, as well as rate and review us on your favorite podcatcher. I don't know if we've played anything else, really, other than like the normal Rainbow Six and Destiny, unless you have something. I haven't played anything else.
I forced myself to play Fortnite for a little while.
Forced?
Yeah, because I really wanted to see the shopping cart.
Oh, yeah.
And
the new vehicle?
I made it about 4 matches through, and I was pissed because they did something. Okay, I've always thought the sound in that game was kind of mediocre, which I find surprising
Yeah.
from that developer specific. Like, Epic knows how to do that shit. I don't really understand why it's so mediocre. Like 3D positional wise, you know,
Yeah.
like trying to figure out
Where footsteps and
yeah,
gunshots and
it's
stuff
just
are.
so bad. Like there's no like way to judge the distance of footsteps or what direction they're coming from. And then they like made a change to it apparently when I wasn't playing for a while, and it sounds significantly worse now. It's like to the point where I don't even want to play.
Maybe your hearing's just going bad because you're 1,000 years old.
That's maybe. But I have very nice sound stuff for my PC.
But it's no good if your hearing aid's broken. You need to reapply your audio processor.
Yeah, that must be it.
I don't pay enough attention to the sound in that game, which is why I don't do very well.
That's like what you live or die on if you're
in
playing
PUBG.
or
Yeah.
Rainbow Six.
Yeah, that's true. That's
And
true.
So maybe it's because I've been playing Rainbow Six on PC so much, and
I
yeah,
think
I've
you're
played a lot of
just
PUBG, and they
spoiled by
both have
those.
very good sound engines.
Yeah.
I mean, the Rainbow Six game it's based on the Unreal Engine,
Yeah.
so I don't
No,
know.
I mean, but it's based on the engine. It's not necessarily the work that Epic has done. What games has Epic made with their engine? they've
all the
made
Gears of War games.
They've
which
made
have phenomenal
Fortnite
sound.
with this version of Unreal, and that's it.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, I mean,
Maybe in a cartoon Wonderland, sound is supposed to be like total garbage.
Well, I think the
don't
whole
know.
point of it is that you should just be building all the time, and it shouldn't matter where the footsteps are.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't actually be shooting in a shooter. I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
No, it's not a shooter. It's Minecraft.
Well, anyways, I didn't have fun, and the sound made it even harder to have fun.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I mean, while you're talking about Fortnite, we can bring up that it has been confirmed that it's coming to Switch.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Was
though.
it confirmed, or is it just it's shown up on the Korean ratings board or whatever it is?
I'm pretty sure it's confirmed that it's happening.
Okay.
And all I know is that's going to sell so many Switch consoles.
I-
Like, you thought there was a shortage? Just wait.
It's a very smart thing for them to do.
Hell
for
yeah,
sure.
it is. I don't know how they're going to, unless like they're going to build in voice chat into the game itself for like squads and things like that, which I would assume they would end up doing, but it's going to change. It's going to change the game. It's gonna be
Oh, it's like
awesome.
what? But I mean, how do you connect the headset to the Switch?
You plug it in the headphone jack.
Does it have the microphone in for a headphone jack?
I would assume so. That's like pretty standard on like everything nowadays.
I don't know.
Unless your device doesn't need it.
Unless you made a third-party app or
Yeah,
an
unless
app
you
to
wanted to
do
use your
voice
cell
chat.
phone.
I don't know, man. I'm pretty excited for that
We'll
somehow.
see. That's cool.
Yeah, we haven't played anything else. We played some
I-
Rainbow Six and got destroyed the other night, so
That's fun.
no, it wasn't.
I've
fun
gotten
at
a
all.
few clutches the past.
Yeah, you've been
couple-
killing
yeah.
it, man.
I've come in for a round and destroy things, and then I leave.
Yeah,
So that's been fun.
been John Wicking it up in that joint.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I did buy and play for a grand total of 3 minutes the Bloodstained Curse of the Moon.
Oh, I want to get that because that's a sequel to Symphony of the Night, supposedly.
Well, it's like
Spiritual successor.
yeah, it's
like,
it's by the dude who made Symphony of the Night. There's a game called Bloodstained Ritual of the Night or something like that, which is the one that was kickstarted. But this game that came out is a Kickstarter bonus made by Inti Creates, which is supposed to be more like a Super Nintendo level Castlevania game.
Okay.
And whereas the game that got kickstarted will be a Symphony of the Night like successor.
Sweet.
The more direct
Yeah, yeah.
comparison, I guess.
Mm.
It seems hard, just like all of those games
It's
did.
very Castlevania.
Yeah,
That's
and
cool.
I think if you are a fan of Castlevania, you should check it out. It's only like $10. It's out on everything.
It's on Switch?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I picked it up on Switch because it seems like the perfect.
I would buy that on
platform for that
Switch
kind of
for
thing.
sure. I'm waiting for them to have Castlevania Symphony of the Night on Switch. Why isn't that there? I want that.
That would
So you
be
can
pretty
buy
rad.
it
Give me
for the
that.
4th or 5th time, right?
I would totally. That's one of my favorite games of all time.
I know.
If Konami was smart, they'd be like employing people to do the because Capcom's doing their Mega Man collections and whatnot.
Right.
Konami should be like, here's all of the Castlevania games.
Port
and
these to
here's
Switch.
all of everything. Like they should just be, because they don't have to do any work on that. They can just
Yeah.
hire somebody to port it over. But I don't know. Konami too busy with the pachinko machines.
I guess, man.
Dracula X Pachinko. But
It drops,
anyway,
drops little metal skulls.
yeah. But other than that, I haven't played anything else. I did. For those who listened to Westworld FM a couple weeks ago, Nick brought up the idea that there would be a Rockstar produced and developed feudal Japan game, and I went crazy. I was like, oh my god, that would be amazing. And then I was like, well, I think the closest I'm gonna get to like Rockstar making a Japan game is probably the Yakuza games.
Yeah.
So I went and bought Yakuza 0. I haven't played any of it yet,
Okay.
but I'm prepping to do that, which is not something I ever planned on doing for some reason, but I'm interested to.
I heard those
Break
games
in.
are great.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
interested to see what you think.
They're like cult classic
and
style.
interested in.
Well, I've heard really
Maybe
good things
borrowing
about
it.
them. Yeah, and I know they're doing Kiwami versions. They did Yakuza Kiwami, which is the remake of the first one. They're doing Yakuza Kiwami 2 and 3, which I think are remasters of the PlayStation 2 games.
Okay.
I think they might be PS3 games. I'm not sure. But they're basically bringing the whole series forth on PS4. And so it seems like a good time to start playing 0.
Cool.
So
Sounds good.
that's about it.
You want to jump into news?
Sure.
Let's do it. First news item.
We'll start with this one because
Yeah.
it's the one that's up.
Fallout 76 was announced by Bethesda earlier this week.
Yes.
It is supposedly some form of online survival RPG. A lot of people are saying it's going to be like Rust. Nobody really knows for sure, though, but they are going to do a full reveal of it during E3, which comes up next week.
Yeah, it will literally be a week from today. They are going to be showing it off on
Yep.
the Bethesda showcase.
It should be exciting.
I'm kind of over the survival games.
Yeah, this isn't what I want at all.
Yeah, you mentioned that in our chat.
I probably won't buy this.
I'm interested to see what it's going to be, but I don't think I'm going to enjoy it at all.
Like the base building in Fallout 4 was something I literally never wanted to touch.
Yeah. I wasn't a fan of that or any of the like town management crap. Like I
Yeah.
don't want that. I just want to play through
Honestly,
the story.
I thought a big problem with that being in Fallout 4, though, was the fact that it was single player only.
Yeah.
If this game is an online game, I'm kind of
You
intrigued
can like
by
team up with other players to
building my
help out with
settlements
that
and
stuff.
actually being able to show them off to other players.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just it's dumb to me to build this awesome world and then never have anybody see it.
And that's
Right.
fine. I mean, I can agree with that, but it's not the mechanics of building things to me was not good enough
No,
for a
no,
game to
it
live
needs
and
a lot
die
of
on
work.
it, you know?
That's for sure. Yeah.
So either they have to have like developed those tools better, or maybe there is other stuff. And like if we could all team up and go take out like a super mutant base,
Yeah.
maybe that would be kind of fun. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Elder Scrolls Online has done quite well, as from what I can
Yeah.
tell. I mean, they have a new expansion coming out.
Yep.
That's kind of a big deal. So they've already had like one super huge expansion, and then they're bringing the next one out.
They've done a bunch. That game's been out for like 3
3 or 4 years
now.
3 years, yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's doing well for them. They're still, the language that they're using when they talk about Elder Scrolls 6 it still makes it sound like to me that it's like a ways off.
Yeah.
but I don't know. Like if this is the Fallout equivalent of Elder Scrolls Online, cool, but that's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I mean, we played ESO for a while, and I can't even say a while. I played it for like a couple of hours, and then I was kind of like, this really.
I played it for a couple weeks, I think.
I wanted to like it a lot because I liked WoW and I liked Elder Scrolls, and they combined those worlds for me, and I thought it was going to be cool, but I just could not get into it, and I'm hoping this doesn't do the same.
I mean, what I will say, the things that I like about it, there's the fact that it's called Fallout 76. It is about the Vault 76, which is one of the initial control vaults that were made that there supposedly weren't any insane experiments going on.
Yeah.
Sadly, we are 7 vaults away from Vault 69, which was populated with 1 man and 299 women or something like that. Yeah. But it's like so this is one of the first vaults. It gets sealed in 2076, and then it opens up in 2102 according to the trailer, which is like 25 years after the last bombs drop.
Right.
And it puts it before Fallout 3, New Vegas, and 4 in the timeline. So if they weave in some interesting lore stuff, or you can go check out other vault, I don't know. Like if this is really just them being like, hey, this is more online oriented and we have co-op and stuff in it, but it's actually a Fallout game, I might be more inclined to check it out.
Yeah.
But if the focus is on build up your settlement and show it off to your buddies and then go kill them and take all their stuff, I don't want that.
Right.
I would like an isometric game, like Fallout Tactics,
Yeah.
like turn-based tactical game. That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Another one of those. I don't think that game fared very well back in the day.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought it was really well made.
Yeah. I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It's coming up this weekend.
All right. Next up, Brian, this is the one that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, more games coming our way. More importantly, or unimportantly, more Assassin's Creed games.
So
Assassin's Creed Odyssey has been announced and will take place in ancient Greece. And I believe it follows directly after the Assassin's Creed Origin game.
Yeah.
Can you play as Kratos?
Yeah.
No.
God of War. I don't know. Whatever.
It's by Echoes.
Yeah, I mean, they're trading different time periods back and forth because
Right.
I mean, the next God of War game will probably be in Egypt, so it only makes sense that the next Assassin's Creed game is in Greece.
Yeah.
And then maybe they'll converge and do like a crossover.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
God of Creed.
Yeah.
It'll be awesome. Assassins of War.
Assassin's Kratos. Yeah. No. I think I'm quoted as saying it would be great if they take a year off with these games.
Well, they
They
are,
did.
right?
They took 1 year off, but this game is supposedly coming out this year.
Oh.
That's what it is likely using all of the same tech as Odyssey with a new
With that-
landmass, essentially.
As Origins. Well, yeah,
Origins,
that makes
excuse me.
sense.
It makes sense, but it's not.
I'm guessing if it's going to be in ancient Greece, it's going to revolve around naval combat more again.
That'd be interesting if they pull that
Because
Blood
I mean,
and Bone
yeah,
or whatever the hell that pirate game was. If they bring all that stuff back in,
I feel like the Mediterranean area is like a good place to do all that.
that's
Yeah.
not a bad idea. But I don't know.
Plus the name Odyssey makes me think of Iliad and the Odyssey.
Yeah.
And yeah, well,
Homer. Dope.
yes, donuts too. Lots of donuts.
Yeah. I don't know.
I believe the other thing I read in the article of note is that there's actually going to be dialogue options this time around.
Yeah. I think I
Interesting.
saw that too.
Maybe it'll play more like an RPG, like Mass Effect or something like that, which would be cool.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
I mean, they put a lot of RPG elements into the last one, so it kind of seems like a no-brainer to add the dialogue stuff too.
We should say this announcement leaked ahead of time because some French site reported that there was a keychain that was made.
That's all it
Yeah.
takes.
Yeah. So
Really, these games journalists should be solving crimes.
pretty much they should put
'Cause
their
they're-
powers
yeah.
for good. But no, I just am not ready to play another Assassin's
I have not
Creed
finished
game.
Origins yet. I have a lot of that game left to play, even though I feel like I've already played it forever.
Oh, for sure.
No, and the thing, like, it plays well, and I think they did a good job, but I just kind of wish they, from a fatigue standpoint, would spread these
unless
releases
this is
out a little
something
more.
they developed alongside Origins, and it's just now finding completion.
Oh, it
like,
most certainly is.
Yeah,
which is
I'm
cool,
Sure,
like-
they shared everything, but I'm speaking strictly from I just don't want to play another Assassin's Creed game until 2019. But
Well, I mean, you could just wait till next year to play it.
it's very beneficial for my timely game podcast that I'm on.
it'll get delayed. Just watch it get delayed.
Probably not. They'll
Okay,
put it out, and then the ships will float in the sky, and
Right. Turn
know.
upside down and
Let's
disappear.
just say now we're going to review Odyssey in 2020.
okay, yeah.
Right
when
on.
2 more Assassin's Creed games are out.
Yes.
All right. And
Next.
then finally, I guess I'll talk about this one. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company announced Pokemon Let's Go.
2 versions.
There's 2 versions, Pikachu and Eevee. It is coming out November 16th on the Switch.
Day before my birthday.
They're $59.99 a piece. These are not the standard Pokemon game. This is not the standard Pokemon game in development for the Switch. That is still coming next year.
Yes.
This is a kind of an extension of Pokemon Go, the smash hit app that came out 2 years ago, a year ago.
The smash hit that got neckbeards out of their computer chairs.
Yes.
And out into the streets.
Out into the world to socialize with
Into
other human
gangs.
beings.
Yeah.
Poke gangs.
So this game plays a lot like that in that you are not randomly encountering Pokemon. You see them on the screen, and then you walk into them, and then you throw Pokeballs at them to catch them.
Using the Joy-Con.
Using the Joy-Con, yeah. And you can play it with 2 people at a time. You only control the game with 1 Joy-Con. But you do face off against trainers, so you can't actually use the Pokemon to fight each other in the standard Pokemon battle style,
Right.
which is cool.
And it connects to your Pokemon Go account.
Yes, you can like share gifts and Pokemon back and forth a little bit. It takes place in the Kanto region, which I believe is the first game,
Yes.
the red and blue.
So do you have to tether it to your phone and then walk around the neighborhood with your Switch in one hand and your phone in the other?
You can do that, but no, you're not actually.
Okay.
It doesn't have any spatial. As far as I know, there's no like.
It's not using GPS.
No, the
Okay.
Switch game is not using GPS. The point of this game is that if you play Pokemon Go, you can bring it into Pokemon Let's Go. You can like bring those Pokemon into it and use them in that game, but you don't have to play either of the 2 in order to
Okay.
enjoy the other one, is kind of the idea.
Right.
What I'm really getting though is this still isn't what people are looking for. This
No,
is still not a real.
It's a step
new
in the right
Pokemon
direction
game.
because it's allowing battles between characters,
Yes.
I think, which is what people really wanted. And I'm sure they're going to make it so like you as a player can battle other players,
Yeah.
would be my assumption. But it's not the full service RPG that the previous Pokemon games have been.
They did definitively say that game is still coming
Yes.
for Switch next
The
year.
the Pokemon Company announced that these are not in fact that game. This is something completely
Okay.
different. There is a full service RPG style Pokemon game coming out next year still. So,
well, I don't care either way. I was just curious.
Yeah, you're not a JRPG type, which is cool. Like
Yeah.
nobody, like I'm not mad at you about that at all.
No, I
I'm a
really
little
don't need
disappointed.
to collect all these weird looking creatures.
No, it's not your style, which
I-
is fine.
I think it'll be fun to try out. I don't know that I'm gonna buy it right away or anything. I might see how people think about it, but it
Yeah.
seemed like it might be a fun game, a fun stopgap Pokemon until we get like a
Well,
full scale one.
in line with the announcement that they made about this, they did release a new voxel style Pokemon game for free
Yeah.
on the Switch. So if anybody wants to check that out, you should check it out.
Yeah,
Let
what is
us
it
know what you
called
think.
though?
I don't remember.
It's like Pokemania or something. I don't know.
I'm not
I'll
sure.
figure it out.
Yeah, but so there's that too. If you want to play a new Pokemon game now, you can. It's an extremely simplified version of Pokemon from what I understood. And it has these cute little voxel graphics.
It's free to play from
Yes.
what I understand with DLC that
That
you
usually
can
means
pay
high
for.
quality.
Yeah, it's certainly,
Fortnite's free to play, and that is high quality. Just saying.
Except for the sound.
The the level of quality is going up in free to play things. So
Pokemon Quest is what it's called.
yeah.
So
So
the one that's free to play out right now. It looks like Minecraft.
I wanted to check it out before I came over today, but I just ran out of time. 'Cause
Yeah,
I was
me too.
trying so hard to finish Detroit.
So nobody checked out the Mario Tennis thing?
No, I wanted to try that out too, and they also have a demo out for Sushi
Yeah.
Striker Way of the Sushido,
Mhm.
Okay.
which I've heard is cool. But
Right on.
I haven't
Yeah, I
had
didn't
time.
get a chance to check the tennis thing out either.
Yeah.
Although I am curious about the game. I kind of like tennis games.
It seems like it might be good. It seems like people are excited for it because the one that was on the Wii or Wii U was apparently kind of trash, and this one looks like it has a lot of adventure mode and all kinds of different stuff to do. So that's cool.
Better trash.
Sweet.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any other news. I feel like a lot of stuff is going on in the kind of ramp up to E3.
Yeah, I think we're kind of in a lull before E3.
but yeah,
There's
we're-
going to be some
dumps a bunch of
some
info
big
on
stuff
us.
coming out. I
Yeah.
think.
So
Big announcements.
Rage 2 got announced.
Yeah, that
We didn't
looks.
really talk about that.
I didn't remember if that came out after.
I think
the
it was.
We briefly touched on it last episode. I
Really?
think for like a half second.
Huh.
I don't know. I still haven't watched the trailer for it, but
Me either. I didn't play the first one. I own it on PC because
I've
it was
tried
like 99 cents.
many times. It looked really good back in the day.
I played
tried
the iPad
to
version.
fire it up the other day, and it looks terrible. The textures are just bad.
Yeah.
I mean, the animation, everything, the models look good, but yeah, Rage was like. The original Rage was really kind of boring, in my opinion. Like, it had good, like, shooting mechanics and stuff, but the driving was a little weird, especially if you were, like, not using a controller.
Yeah.
And it just seemed, like, kind of pointless. Like, it just slowed the game down. It was, like, I don't know. It just wasn't that fun, and I'm actually really surprised that they made a sequel.
yeah, I think everybody was
But
pretty.
The sequel looks like a blast to me because it looks like they took the energy and the pacing of the new Doom, which was amazing, and threw it into Rage.
Yeah.
And that looks like a lot of fun to me.
That's cool.
And there's a lot more attitude to it this time.
What else was announced?
More
too?
like Borderlands.
This just got announced.
Oh yeah, Borderlands 3 is coming out. That was announced too.
Really?
Yep.
I
That
mean,
was-
everybody
that
already,
was,
already
uh,
knew
I think
that.
I think they can't. What was announced is they came out and said we will not be at E3.
Is that what they said?
Yeah,
Because I know it was one of the things leaked on like Walmart's website.
I think they
and
said.
they confirmed that it is coming.
I think they said Borderlands 3 is indeed in development, but it will not be at this year's E3. So I think it's still
Is this another Colonial Marines? They're just going
I
to
don't
sit
know.
on it for 10 years and
3
hype
hours.
it, and it's going to be shit.
3 hours ago, it was announced that Evolve servers are closing in September.
Nobody
So
cares.
that's interesting.
I'm surprised they're still up.
Battlefield 5 was announced. They put out a trailer for that.
Yep.
People threw a fucking shit fit over it because they had a woman as the main character of a
There's
World
a
War
woman
II
in
game.
the game.
Seriously?
And everybody
How are
wa-
we supposed to?
What year do we live in?
That's I know it, dude. It's all the white dudes in America being like women didn't play any role in World War II, but
Yeah.
the reality is like we couldn't have won World War II if women weren't involved. So it's kind of
Yeah.
funny how that works out.
Yeah.
Didn't they build most of the shit we
Yes,
used?
they did. Yeah, and they did fight too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah. I don't. Whatever. There was a Call of Duty revealed too at some point. There's more Call of Duty
additional
coming.
details.
Yeah, we talked about
yeah,
that.
we talked about that Battle Royale.
but
But they don't know what the Battle Royale mode's going to be. And I think in our chat we decided that we would much rather have a Doom battle royale where they get dropped in a crater on Mars and it's last Doom guy standing.
Or you get to play as a demon.
That was also what we were thinking for Fallout, was that it was going to, before we knew more.
Yeah, we thought it'd be a battle royale. Maybe they'll add a battle royale mode, or maybe you can build your own battle royale mode into the online system.
It's going to be like Fortnite, except you can build an elaborate settlement like Fallout 4. But you have to do it quickly before you get shot from
Sounds
across
about
the
right.
map.
Yeah.
Using VATS.
Yes. The whole game pauses for everyone.
When
Every time
one person
somebody hits
uses
the VATS button.
the whole game pauses. And then, but
That
you can
sounds
also
great.
use VATS at the same time while somebody else is using VATS.
Cool.
That might actually be kind of interesting. But
And Mega Man 11 got a release date for October 2nd.
yeah, I was talking to Willie about Mega Man 11
Is that a new game?
Yeah.
in the chat that I didn't realize that the Nintendo Switch version of the Mega Man collections has a rewind function, which completely alters the way you would play those games, I think. So I find that very fascinating. So
Yeah, no, but
Maybe I could actually play it.
yeah,
Gladys just said in the chat.
Really bad at Mega Man games.
He said, LMAO, VATS Online the game.
that'd be great. I would play that one for sure.
You heard it here first.
Yep. We announced it, VATS Online.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's it for our news for now. Let's talk about Detroit.
All right.
So Detroit Become Human by Quantic Dream is a game set in our beloved Motor City here in the Midwest, in Detroit, Michigan. It is basically what I would consider a choose-your-own-adventure style detective / story game.
I snickered when you said game because
It's not a
loosely interpreted as
Yeah.
a game.
You guys are haters.
No,
No,
I'm
here's-
not.
okay.
I have a lot
Let's-
of mixed feelings about this.
Fuck
but
it. We're doing it live. We're going right into it, okay? This game is a terrible game.
As a
okay?
game,
it is
it
a
doesn't
bad-
have gameplay.
It is a
I
horrible,
just think that's
horrible
extremely
game.
reductive.
But it is a great experience. It is not a game. I don't feel like I'm doing anything game related. Like the detective scenes with Connor are pretty cool, but it's not a game. Like those things, like they're not hard. There's no challenge to anything you're doing in this.
Well,
the
hitting the
hardest
right
thing-
buttons at the right time is challenging.
Yeah, the
to
hardest
me.
thing Brian found was having to read the prompts fast enough
Yes.
in order to like hit the proper button.
Yeah, like how am I going to read all these dialogue choices and then make a decision before I run out of time?
But this, I was intrigued enough by the story. Like I enjoy the story enough to make it like to slog through what they call gameplay in this to hear more about what was happening. I think that is something to say. Like that's worth like mentioning because the story's really well done. Even though it's like the standard like racism in America plus like Underground Railroad yada yada, but with androids. Like
Yeah, throw a little Westworld in there.
yeah, it's a beautiful game. It is incredibly like well
Little
put
Blade
together. What Quantic Dream is doing as a company in terms of what they're doing with the technology, I find fascinating. Like it is incredible. It is a feat in and of itself to have created what they have created. And they did a really great job with that. And I don't want to discount that by any means. I just think it's a bad game.
So, I mean, what separates this from a game like Until Dawn?
I didn't finish Until Dawn because I feel the same way about that.
Okay. All right. Well, as long as you're consistent,
I just
there.
don't. Yeah, I don't like these kinds of games. They're not for me. But if the story is intriguing enough, like, and that's the thing, I found this story of Detroit, and maybe it's, I'm not gonna lie. Like, some of it comes from the fact that it's from our hometown. Basically, like, I wanted to know what happens, and I wanted to see all the little landmarks and things they put into the game,
In
which
the wrong spots.
wrong spots, give or take. But really, like, they basically took certain names of things around here and just kind of threw them into Detroit.
They're like they threw them in a hat and then they just kind of shuffled.
Yeah,
shook them around, pulled them out.
It's like they're like, well, we need to reference this other place. What do we call it? Should we call it Royal Oak or Berkeley or Ferndale or Southfield?
Either way, we're on Gratiot Avenue.
Gratiot Avenue, and we're going to use Ferndale as a stop on the new
Let's go to
Detroit
Hamtramck.
subway system.
So it's not a very, very good representation of our city.
The downtown area, like where they show the Renaissance Center and Hart Plaza and things like that, is very cool to see
Yeah.
those landmarks. It is awesome to have that represented in such a large scale game that had a shitload of money behind it, but it is a very poor representation of Detroit in and of itself. One thing I will note that I found very cool as I rolled through the credits of the game today, they used Detroit artists for the music.
Oh, really?
And Emily Rose is very popular in this area, and I've actually played several shows with her with my band Mod Orange, and I thought it was awesome to see her name up on that game. And I don't know what kind of royalties she's getting from that, but good for her.
Hopefully a lot.
I also like that the 3 different characters in the game got different scores written by 3 different people.
Yes,
which is interesting.
And and it was I think was it Kara's that was recorded in Abbey Road Studios.
Yes.
Yeah. So like they put a lot into this game, and I really don't want to discount that by saying it's a bad game, because everything else about it is fantastic. It is beautiful. The sound design is amazing. The music is great. Graphics are fantastic. Like everything about it is cool. But the gameplay, like, and it just sucks that that's the case, because I wanted this game to be really good, and I think it has potential to do good down the line, but we'll have to see what comes of this.
Let's talk about the gameplay, or the lack thereof, a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, there are times during the game where I feel like I'm interacting with it in enough of a meaningful way to be entertained. There are other times where, like, it prompts me to stand up, and that's the only thing I could be doing anyways in that scene. Just shit like that, like turn this doorknob, stuff like that. It's like, I don't want to bother with it. Just walk me through the damn game at that point. But like, if it's actually making me make a choice, or like explore the environment and analyze things, I'm okay with that. That's good enough gameplay for this type of game for me. But yeah, just don't make me mindlessly interact when there's no choice in the matter.
Right. It's like if there were a scene where they were like, here, use the touchpad to twiddle your thumbs as a character for no reason. Like, that's like what a lot of these little interactions are, like turning doorknobs, like Brian said, or like picking up something and putting it down is like a full action of like rotating the joystick to do that task. Like, I don't want to do crap like that. Like, I actually liked the QuickTime events. Like where you're fighting guards and you have to like
chases.
And what I realized this last time through, or like running through the end sequence of the game, basically was like all the QuickTime events were just between X and circle, which made it really easy to like maintain and like stay.
That's not true.
That's
actually.
not true.
No, well, so for the very end of the game, for me at least, when I played my version of the game, because we all had different experiences, all of my QuickTime events were based on X and circle. That's it. I never had to do a triangle. I never had to do a square, unless it was like hold L1 and mash square, like stuff like that. I still had to do that. But whenever I'm fighting guards and like Marcus is like flipping guns out of their hands and bashing them in the face, or like blocking kicks or whatever, all of those were done using X and circle, which I find like it's cool to do that, because then I'm less focused on like, oh shit, what if they throw like some weird L1 in there that I'm not paying attention enough for? So,
I felt like I had a whole lot of L1s and R2s, and the ones that got me the most were the moving the analog stick in a particular direction quickly. I always
moving the
failed
controller
those.
threw me off.
The controller was okay with me, but like I was getting all kinds of QuickTime events that were like, you need to block a kick with L2 and you need to block a punch with R1 and stuff like that.
Oh, I gotta say,
go ahead.
10 out of 10 though for using the touchpad.
10 out of 10 in general for the controller itself, I want to say. Like, this game utilizes the controller in a lot of different ways, and one of which is...
I mean, there are a lot of games that use... Well, I mean, I wouldn't say a lot, but there are some games that use the motion controls. None of them use the touchpad, ever.
No, and this actually used it for...
Other than it just as a button.
Yeah, and you're scrolling through pages or turning pages in magazines. Or my favorite was using the piano function. Like, whenever Marcus was playing a piano and you use the touchpad and you actually have to tap the touchpad to, like, alternate.
It was fun, like, messing with the speed of that.
Yeah.
They needed more stuff like that.
But what I really liked about the controller aspect was not just the touchpad, but also at the points where I literally had to change the way I was holding the controller to do some of the button combinations that they wanted me to do, and it gave me this like bit of unease of like, oh, like what am I doing with my hands? I have to contort to all these weird shapes to like I've got to hold L1 and then like hold R1 and then hold L2 and R2 at the same, all of those things at the same time, and while I'm doing that I have to use the joystick and use like the arrow button.
I never had to do that.
I had to do that a few times.
Were you manipulating a Rubik's Cube or something?
That's what
game?
That's what it seemed like.
There's a part where Connor solves a Rubik's Cube in 20 seconds.
Yeah, spoiler. That's how the game ends. Sorry.
Yeah, that's how he proves he's a sentient
One
being.
of the 10 endings.
I just really liked the fact that they utilized the controller like very extensively, I
There-
think.
There are a lot of those. Oh, you got to be holding like 3 different buttons at a time or whatever. That
Yeah.
happens a lot. One time, it made me hold 3 different buttons to the point to where I had to reach over with my thumb
Yeah.
to hit a button. But that's the only time that happened the entire time I was playing. And
I
almost
had
done
to
with
do it a few times, and it was just interesting for me to actually have to rethink how I'm holding the controller to play a game.
I
Like
wonder if it randomizes that.
it might.
I
Like
don't
you
know.
usually just hold a controller. Like I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I use my from my middle finger to pinky finger. Those are what are holding the bases of the controller, and
Yeah.
I'm really only using my index finger for the shoulder buttons. But I had to move my middle finger out so I can manipulate shoulder buttons and triggers at the same time. Like I just find that very interesting and fascinating to
Yeah.
like have to literally alter the way I'm physically playing the game in order to play the game.
Yeah. No, and I think there's a lot of that was what I was impressed with back in the Heavy Rain days of like seeing how like this all of the stuff that you guys are saying was stuff that they were doing with the DualShock 3 and the 6-axis with Heavy Rain. And a lot, not the touchpad, obviously, but like translating the way that you would use motions and certain actions, like it reminds me a little bit of that game Quap, where you're like a track star and
you're trying to do
you're controlling particular muscles with particular keys.
Yeah.
And it feels like in these Quantic Dream games that like certain like your legs are always going to be on like the L2 and R2 or like I don't necessarily I can't call it out the way that it actually is, but there are certain actions that are going to line up with certain buttons just from like playing through the game, and I like that. It feels like you're familiar with the controller in the way that the Android is familiar with how his body works and stuff like that. I don't know, like the doorway thing, like going through doors and like the inane interactions of like just traversing and doing the seemingly minuscule stuff. Like I didn't find that the game had a whole lot of that. I know that there are times in the game where it felt like I was waiting for something to happen and there wasn't much else for me to do other than to either continue walking or kind of stand there and wait. But that kind of thing doesn't really bother me with this type of game. And maybe it's because I've played Heavy Rain before and I expect that kind of stuff, or I'm a little more open to the walking simulator genre than you guys probably are. But like, what would you compare this to Tacoma, Brian? Like, how do you feel about this compared to something like Tacoma? Because obviously there's some very detective-y like parts in this that are similar to Tacoma, but does that feel like more of a game to you?
I
than
understand
this does?
it's $60, so it should be a reasonable length, but I honestly feel like this game's too long. I'm doing that type of
But I
boring,
mean, in
mundane
terms-
stuff for too long.
See,
Okay.
I don't think
Like Tacoma is short and to the point, and it's inexpensive. It should probably be slightly cheaper than it is, but
I don't think
yeah.
the inane, that's the word you're using.
I guess.
I don't think those actions are what's wrong with it. I just think the overall pacing is like really slow, and that's boring.
Totally,
Like,
I can completely agree with that. And what I'll say about the game in general, I think this game, for me, lives and dies in Connor's stuff. That's
Yeah,
why
so-
the Connor demo,
so Gladish asks, how is the whole game compared to the demo? That's what he wants
the
to know.
Connor demo, I think they selected that as their demo because they knew that his stuff is the most compelling gameplay wise.
For sure.
Right.
And there are certain moments and things in the Marcus and Kara, I guess they're mostly chases that you undergo with those characters, like fight scenes or stuff like that, that feel good again, like you're actually doing things in the game. But I also don't necessarily think, like I think all of the heady topics of the game come from Marcus and Kara more so than Connor. And I think David Cage shouldn't be allowed to write about any of that ever again, unless it's like about the French Revolution or something.
Right.
But like the idea that like this game is so, it hits you over the head with literally everything it's trying to say, and it's so bad at it that I just could not care any less. Like everything they're trying to do with this is done better in something like Westworld
Blade
or
Runner.
Blade Runner or literally any of the other things that you can list that like this game is related to. And the idea that there's some 30, 40 something white French dude in France trying to tell Americans about like slavery. I don't think
I mean,
that
clearly we live in a time where like this is extremely relevant still for some reason. Like we still have to talk about these topics.
Oh.
And like I understand he's trying to make a statement of sorts, but yeah, like you don't really need to tell us, dude. Like we know like what's going on.
I'm just not interested in
His commentary.
a French dude's commentary on slavery, period. I don't care. I'll listen to people talk about things. But from what I know from playing Heavy Rain and how he doesn't really connect with his topics well and use any amount of subtlety, I don't need to hear any type of statement from him anymore.
Right.
I will say this game looks amazing. It feels more cinematic than most of the other games that I play. The chase scenes are just very exhilarating to me, and when any other time like a long string of QTEs would annoy me, they do such a good job of making them feel good and not making them live or die on any one single action that you might miss. Like you can still survive something if you're not hitting it 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like a lot of that in the gameplay. But the things that were most compelling to me was like diagnosing a crime scene and looking at a dead android and finding the clues on its body and piecing those back together. The idea that there are interrogations that you do with Connor where you need to keep the interrogant into some type of state in order to keep them responsive, but not make them too calm, but not make them too crazy.
It reminded
Make them
me.
not self-destruct.
Yeah.
It was like it was like the charismatic speaking mechanism that was in Oblivion.
Yeah.
Did you ever play
No,
Oblivion?
I didn't.
So you had to like, you could have conversations with people to try and persuade them to do things with you, but you had to like keep them happy. And so like you were choosing different dialogue trees to like keep them within a particular mindset so
Yeah.
that you could use them for whatever task you were trying to accomplish. And that was cool. It was fucking poorly done in Oblivion. It was awful, but the
Yeah.
idea is cool. And to
I
see
just
that,
bribed everyone, I think.
yeah, essentially that's what you end up doing. But to have it done in this manner, like in the way Quantic did it for this game, like is really cool. Like
Yeah.
it is a very really well done mechanism in the game itself. There was something else I was going to mention too. I do want to say that the sound design is unbelievable
Mhm.
in this. My favorite, one of my favorite scenes is when Marcus is in this pit of like other androids, and he basically has to rebuild his own body, and he needs a new audio processor, and his hearing is super muffled and like staticky and weird, and he puts in this new processor, and it's literally like, it's just like when you have a broken audio cable going from your phone to your stereo, and you have to manipulate it in the right way to get it
Yeah.
to get the sound to come through, but all you're getting is like stuff like
No,
this,
I
and
would-
then all of
I
a
would-
sudden everything opens up and there's all this crackling and whoosh,
I
and
think
like,
you could equate it to like having water in your ear too. And
Yeah.
like when
Yeah.
the moment where you finally get that water out and it just like feels amazing. And
that moment in the game literally gave me goosebumps. Like
Yeah.
to like because it was just again, like I'm a person who's had ear problems like
Mhm.
my entire life, and to have that somebody like represent a similar issue like that, but through the voice of an android, like was really it's something else. Like it was something
Yeah.
to experience. That's why I'm saying like this game, it's a bad game, but the experience of it is fantastic. Like it is like it has something. It's doing something enough to keep me playing, and I actually beat it. Like that says a lot. So.
like I still think that the best Quantic Dream game is Until Dawn, which is not a Quantic Dream game, but it's David Cage at his best, which is when he's not involved in the project at all. And so I just think I hope that Supermassive Games gets a hold of all of this work and gets to build something else with
Until
it.
Dawn 2, perhaps.
Yeah, because I want them to tell
Until dusk.
Until Dusk, yeah.
I want them
that's right.
to. I want somebody that has a little bit more subtlety, or just
It'll
does
be
not.
their romantic comedy called About Noon.
I'd play it, but yeah. What's
Gladish said he's saying so. Basically, Connor is the best part about the whole game, and the other two are just to get more time from the game. I don't think that's necessarily the case. they're obviously there as like part of filler, but their storylines are very different, and it is kind of cool when you reach the point in the game where they all start to converge.
They all are part of the same story.
They're trying to give the same message, essentially. I think
With different perspectives.
Yeah, from different perspectives.
And it, like, because the game is all about seeing these androids start to become
Human.
and gain consciousness,
In
essentially,
Detroit.
and start feeling emotions and things like that. So they kind of give you these different approaches of how an android might stumble into that type of situation. And I think it's good. I think all of the acting in the game is quite good.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Lance
awesome.
Henriksen is in this, and it's great. Minka Kelly's in this, and it's fantastic.
Yep.
There's a lot of great Hollywood and non-Hollywood talent associated with the voice acting here in this game, and I think that's very good. One of the other things that I will complain about is the fact that you need to make decisions so quickly. I know Brian was having trouble reading what it was saying with what you, like, which button means which thing.
Yeah, I mean,
I
part of
had
it was
trouble-
me just like getting used to not having to react for too long, and then all of a sudden, oh hey, you're supposed to read these 4 lines and make a choice now when I'm like half asleep.
I feel like the timers for those 4 choice things were pretty good in terms of length.
I think the bigger problem is the fact that they typically only give you 1 or 2 words, and it's hard for me to understand
That
what my
happened
character
for me too. Like I
will
picked a choice.
say based on those words.
I picked a choice today when I was kind of rushing to and hopefully finish the game before I got here, but that didn't happen. I read a word. I thought something in my head, like reaction wise, it was completely different than what they said.
Yeah.
And it made Hank like dislike me more or whatever. I'm like, whatever.
And that's kind of the fact, the idea that there are points in the game where it makes you feel as though the choice that you made is not the choice that you would actually make because it didn't label it correctly, or they couldn't convey what they wanted to convey in that short amount of time. I think that sucks. I think there are several points in this game where they present the story presents something that would be a choice in a game that had ultimate choose your own adventure, but you don't get to make those choices. I talked about it in the demo, the idea that you can grab the gun with Connor, but then you can either tell him the truth, tell the android holding the girl the truth and throw the gun away, or you can lie and say that you don't have one but still have the gun. I think you should be able to tell him that you have a gun and then keep it anyway. Like that kind of thing feels like a big decision that you would make in whether or not you have the gun. And there are several things throughout the game that are like that.
But that's how they're able to control the different like trees of thought and processing. Is like they can't give you full freedom, because then like how is their whole butterfly effect system going to really work?
I understand that, but I think there's a way that they can do that in terms of the way that the characters that you don't control react to the things that you can control, means that they should be able to steer the story that way.
Yeah.
But with something as big as I'm taking a gun into a hostage negotiation situation, and I tell the android that I have one, I should be able to decide I'm going to hang on to this or I'm going to throw it away.
Right.
And if that locks me into a certain tree, like if that makes it so that I'm going to die in the situation regardless or something like that, that's fine. But there are certain times where this game that is all about giving the player agency to do certain things, I think they take a lot of choices away from you that seem like they would be obvious branching points in the story to do stuff with. But I think it's a very interesting game. I don't think it's worth $59.99. I don't think...
I do feel like it's very replayable.
For sure.
The branching paths are very intriguing. Like I mean, I borrowed it from a coworker. Thanks a lot. And like
who?
Ken. Thanks a lot, Ken.
Thanks
for
Ken.
letting me borrow it.
We appreciate
if
it.
you ever listen to this. But we were talking about our different playthroughs of it, and they're wildly different.
Yeah.
Like, and I wasn't anywhere near where I'm at in the game now, but that's just for like the first maybe third to half of the game.
Yeah.
Like, they're so different. But and then like John and I talked about some of the stuff too, and it's very interesting to
to compare
hear,
notes.
Yeah, and that's like one of the better parts of the game, I would say. And like the replayability thing, part of it for me is like I would like to go back and replay some of the segments because I hit the wrong button,
Yeah.
and so I didn't get the intended outcome like I wanted.
Right.
But I like that it presents you with the flow chart, and it doesn't tell you everything that can happen, and it locks off the things that you didn't necessarily find
Right.
or choose. But it is very much. I think it's very interesting to be able to sit down and talk about how your choices actually affected what happened. And I hope once you finish, we can take, 20 minutes to do like a full spoiler cast.
Alex, what level of companionship did you get with North and Marcus?
I got to the lover.
Okay.
Or whatever
So you saw them
level.
have robot sex?
I did not see any of the robots.
No, it's when they put their hands together.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
And it just,
spoiler.
and it just turns into their cyborg
turn into
hands.
their cyborg
and
hands.
She in my playthrough, she just dislikes me fairly strongly.
Megan,
Actually-
She did everything safe, but
Megan was watching me play, and we were both sitting there, and like it switched over to the lover tag,
Yeah.
and she was like, "Ooh, lover," and I'm like, "Oh man, they're gonna have robot sex. What's gonna go down?" And then they go and like they touch hands, and like they turn into their cyborg hands, and they exchange their thoughts or whatever, and
Yeah.
and you learn about her past, and he changes his or shows her his past, and yada yada, and it's just like this whole different level of like, you're just like, oh man, like. What if
Robot sex is boring.
What if robot sex is boring, but what if like real sex was like that, where like you're transferring consciousnesses back and forth, and like
well, it's very Avatar idea.
yeah,
The
I don't
idea
know.
that
I
you
just
connect your
they
brain
just kept like
stems
they kept
together or whatever.
touching their hands in public, and I'm like, stop having sex in public.
PDA, ultimate PDA.
Yeah, it was just funny. I don't know.
That brings a whole new meaning to high fives. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
You slut. You high five everybody.
I don't think playing this game is worth paying the money to a company that sounds like it's very toxic to work at.
Rumored.
Yeah, allegedly. David Cage, please don't sue us, although you suck as a person. But it's just like I think it's a very interesting. It's more than a tech demo, and I would even say to me this is a much more interesting and playable version of a Telltale game. Like this is.
See, I think the Telltale games have a bit more gameplay to them. It depends on which ones you're playing, though.
That might be the case.
But like
I've only
actually
played
having
a
an
couple of them.
inventory and like some light puzzle solving to do makes it more gameplay or more like a game to me.
I mean, what
than
is light
this
puzzle
game.
solving beyond like going through and analyzing everything and finding like God, I wish we could get
You know
into
what?
spoilers.
Just give me Day of the Tentacle over any of these games any day. That's a true adventure game.
I don't want to reveal any details about it, but the strip club sequence with Connor, so good.
That was really good.
So good. The idea that you have to find where an android went and the mechanics that they use for you to figure that out is awesome.
Yeah,
and I loved it.
That
was
was
great.
a very like an emotional wrap up on the end of that.
That
scene
too.
I was also going to say one of the mechanics that I liked similar to that mechanic was, or like one of the like recreation mechanics that they have in
Yeah.
the game is it's almost like a puzzle solving one where you have to find the best path to like
Yes.
jump crates and grab onto this ledge and do this thing. And I would have really liked, especially to give Marcus's character more quote unquote gameplay. I would have
More
loved to have
parkour.
had more of that
I
because
didn't really enjoy that.
or
that
to
much.
make it more puzzle oriented, so like there isn't necessarily a wrong outcome because there were wrong outcomes, but that every outcome creates different challenges or whatever. Like
requires you to do more.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it just would have like maybe like you take the more difficult path, and in doing so, like not only do you have to go through the sequence of like choosing what the path is, but then when you actually proceed to activate that particular run through, maybe it makes the controller acrobatics that much more intense for you as a player
Yeah.
to do. Like that would have been cool to have that. I like what they did, but I just wish they would have expanded on that more.
Yeah. And the other thing that I really enjoyed in Connor's storyline is when there's a certain point where you get to essentially look over all of the evidence you've uncovered throughout the entire game in order to figure something out. And I don't feel like I have ever encountered anything like that to that degree, that level in a game previously. The idea where literally all of the choices you made with this particular character come down to this particular moment, I think are very interesting.
That was pretty cool.
So the only other thing I will say, there are certain points in the game where I feel like the choices that you want to make with your relationships to certain people don't necessarily line up with how I feel like I would want the actions of my character to go. It's really hard for me to talk around this without spoiling anything, but there's stuff that happens with Connor and Hank that I feel like it works counterintuitively.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't.
Gladish says if we spoil a game, he's going to team kill us next time we play Siege.
That's fine. I mean, it's hard to spoil it because literally we could talk about everything
everyone's-
that we've done, and it might be nothing like your
it could be
playthrough.
completely different based on your choice, the decisions you make, and it's I don't know.
I haven't really looked to see like how many different endings there are either. And there's got to be at least 2.
Oh, and I think it kind of goes
assume there's
even
3.
beyond
You have
that.
3 characters essentially. Like which one? Although I would assume Marcus takes the forefront for the most part in the story part of it, but
no,
I think each of the characters plays a different role. I mean, you've got the biggest. So Brian, like you were saying, you're playing this game. He and I were having a conversation on the way over here. He's playing this game very differently than you've played other games of this sort.
Yeah.
Like you found yourself taking a more compassionate and empathetic.
Definitely. I've been very compassionate toward the plight of the android in this game. And so I've resisted like doing dickish things like I did pretty much exclusively in games like Mass Effect and Dragon Age.
I told him I found that interesting because like the game is speaking to him. It's giving him a more
it helps
empathetic,
a lot that the characters in this game are so lifelike.
Yeah, and you're having a more empathetic feeling towards like what's happening in it. And I think that's like Kara's whole role in the game is to teach you empathy in a way. And like Connor's is to be meticulous and like, just his whole detective thing is like that is the main
makes
game.
you want to
Rigorous
do
and
your job
deterministic.
well.
Yeah, you want to do a good job. You're determined, and Marcus is another set of emotions that you're kind of working with. So it's kind of cool to have like 3 characters that are making you like wrestle with like 3 different aspects of like who you are as a person while you're playing the game. This whole game as an experience is very, very well done. It's just a bad game.
I think the 3 and I want to kind of recolor my words. I think the 3 characters do serve very cool and different functions. I just wish that they would have focused more on how they affect each other rather than trying to sledgehammer this slavery message through.
Yeah.
Like, we get it. I understand. Like, that is an allegory. You literally don't have to tell me that at all, and I will be thinking about it through the entire game. So the fact that, like, they have people here that are just very plainly, like, there's an underground railroad, as John said previously, in this game. Not necessary. Just follow the story, let it go through. You don't have to, like, I want them to employ more subtlety and skillful. I need them to give the player a little more credit.
I think they started with that sort of, with at least in Marcus's story arc towards the beginning of it. Once you get past the first sequence where he gets accosted on the street or whatever, like you can't avoid that. That's going to happen anyways, I think.
I don't think I got accosted on the street.
Oh, when you walk past the protesters?
Can't you just walk a different path?
I didn't
Oh.
know there were
I
any
walked
protesters.
straight toward the angry protesters because I wanted something to happen.
They threw me down
Interesting.
and beat me up a little
Same
bit.
here.
So
That didn't happen to me at all.
But anyways, like Marcus's whole role prior to becoming
Sorry, Gladish.
this doesn't spoil, again, it doesn't spoil anything. Everyone's decision making is different, but like Marcus plays the role of like a caretaker. Like and he's not necessarily like, yes, he is a slave, but he is like a slave to an old man who needs help and has the money
he
to
likes
afford.
his owner.
Yeah, he loves his owner. I mean, they are companions, and like that's one of my favorite scenes in the whole game, where Carl makes Marcus paint.
Yeah.
Like I was like, not only is the art that they have in this game
It's
awesome,
super
it is
cool.
so good. The graffiti in the game is badass.
Yeah.
Everything created in the background, super cool. Carl's artwork that he made, that painting, the giant one he's working on, I fucking love that. I want a
He's got a
poster
cool
of that shit.
house.
He does have a really dope house. But that, like, it was just it that I felt wasn't as on the nose as like some of the other, like what Kara was dealing with and what Connor was
I certainly
working
think
through.
it is later, like as you move through the storyline.
It's like it's getting beaten
the
harder
latter
into
2/3.
you.
It is just they are still sledgehammering that shit into your brain
Yeah.
directly, and it's not necessary. So
I mean, it's not necessary for us, necessarily. Like it's not, but
I just prefer art like this where it is there for those of us paying attention.
yeah.
And if you walk through it without seeing that, that's fine, and I don't think any less of you. It just doesn't connect with you on that level. But
Right.
So anyway, don't buy it.
Yeah, don't pay full price for it. At least I don't think
Wait
it's
till
worth.
it's free on PS.
It's not worth $60.
No.
Plus.
No way in hell. It's not even really worth the $47.99 Alex paid for it with Gamers Club Unlocked.
No.
And the only way I
I
convinced him
think
to do
maybe
it,
like 30 or 40.
the only
maybe.
way. Well, that's the
Yeah.
thing. The only way I convinced him to do it was that I would split it with him. So
It doesn't.
I
I mean,
borrowed
it
it,
could have been.
so.
It could have been $10, and I just feel bad giving any money to Quantic Dream at this point. But whatever. So
yeah. So
we will regift our copy to a listener of some.
yeah, we're
some
gonna. I don't know how I want to do that, but I think I want it to be some form of social media blitzy style thing where like if you have to follow our Instagram and then tag 3 of your friends to the post, and then you will get a chance to get our copy of Detroit Become Human, and we'll autograph it.
How about this?
I
about this?
refuse.
I think this is only going to be open to the U.S. only. Sorry, Gladish, and any international listeners. But if you go on our Facebook and share our post to your wall to all of your friends,
That gets you another chance.
No, that just gets you the one chance. We're going to keep it nice and simple.
That's how you enter.
You enter that way. You share that post with your friends. You share the Detroit Become Human episode 65 post or 86.
But you have to be a fan of the Facebook page too.
Well, yeah.
Be a fan of the Facebook page, share the post out. You get an entry into winning our copy of Detroit Become Human.
Yep. And if we have enough entries or whatever, if we
I
have
just said F you, I'm done with you.
if we have more than 2 entries next week, then we'll pick the winner and announce it and get your address. So, but yeah, no, I don't want to go so far to say it's a bad game because I think it's a very unique experience, as John said, and I think that's a game. It's a game. You might not like it, and it might
Okay.
not be what you want it to be, but it is a video game.
Is it better or worse than the Order 1880?
It is significantly better than the Order 1886.
Yeah.
It's still not worth $60 though.
No. The Order 1886 is hard to say it's worth $5.
I think that's still the lowest rated game by the Game Nerds.
I think so too.
Just
Yeah, I
wanted
don't-
to make sure.
I don't think that's the worst game of all time. That's worse. I'd rather play E.T. on Atari than that game. It had so much potential. They had so much potential to make a really cool game and like expand on it, and they shit the bed so badly.
Are you talking about E.T. or The Order? I can't tell.
The Order.
I mean, E.T. is quite the franchise to get to work with, and they really screwed that
Yeah.
up too.
So, anyways, what are we gonna cover next time? Probably E3
E3?
stuff.
Yeah.
Probably go over all the E3 stuff. Not sure what kind of releases are coming out, but maybe we can touch on other things we're playing at that point.
I will hopefully have some time to play some Yakuza, so I can talk about Yakuza 0 a little bit, which would be nice. But yeah, in terms of what's going to be out 2 weeks from now, today is the 2nd.
Yes.
The 3rd. There's not a whole lot. Yeah, there's that Elder Scrolls expansion that comes out on Tuesday. But other than that, there's not a whole lot coming out. So you know,
Rainbow Six Parabellum drops next week.
nice. So we'll probably focus mostly on E3.
You could play
news.
some State of Decay too, couldn't you? Don't you still have your Xbox game?
Yeah, I
Pass?
played a little bit of it. I don't really care about that game.
Yeah. All right. Well, so that's that. What else is going on with the network? We got Westworld FM. We're gonna have a new episode tomorrow.
Yeah, probably tomorrow or Tuesday. Episode 7 is airing tonight, and we're gonna watch it, and then we'll talk about it, and that'll be good. The
Movie
horror movie yearbook guys just put out an episode on Dario Argento's Phenomena, which I believe is also the what is it called? Creepers 2. I don't know. There's like an American edit of the movie.
Jeepers Creepers?
No, it's I think it's called Creepers. I don't know.
And there's been some serious chat in the Midwest Podcast Network Discord movie channels about. Thanks to Jason K for his contributions
Yes.
to the Patreon, and he brought it up too that Annihilation is one of the best movies of the year,
Yeah, it's a great movie
and I need to check that out.
for sure.
So,
But that's the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, so if you want to follow us on social media or see all the places you can listen to or watch the show, check out MidwestGamers.com/links. And in case you have not heard, even though I just mentioned it, the Midwest Podcast Network does have a Patreon now. It's meant to benefit all the shows on the network. So if you're inclined to do so, you can you can subscribe for as little as $1. But if you hit the $10 mark, we will talk about you on the air, like Jason K. Thanks
Yep.
again, Jason. If you hit the $5 mark, you are able to join the Midwest Podcast Network Discord server, and you can have access to all of the hosts of all of the shows that we have and talk to us whenever you want. It's
Yeah.
kind of rad. We've had some pretty good conversations, especially the Westworld stuff has been awesome. Willie and Tim are both on now for Horror Movie Yearbook, so they've been doing a great job keeping in touch with the fans there.
Yep.
We appreciate everyone who's contributed to the Patreon, even though we don't announce you. If you pay more money, we will.
I've been thinking about adding a $5 tier where we either give away, like on the $5 tier, adding a perk where we give away the games that we talk about or other Steam codes that I have lying around
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So if that's something you would be interested in, mostly PC and whatever other games that we talk about, we might do that.
Yeah, let
if
us
we get
know.
a big enough pool of people that would be able to use the games that I am able to give. So.
And you can tell us that information via feedback, which we do appreciate, and you can send to MidwestGameNerds@gmail.com or talk to us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And feel free to follow us on Twitch as well as rate and review us on your favorite podcatcher. And thanks again to everybody listening and checking us out in the chat here. Thanks, Gladys, for joining us. So that's all I have to say for now, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.